Okay, so guys, I have to go to work. Got to make this short and simple. The big problem with Cap putting everything back exactly when it left is that it is completely and totally not possible. All right, so that creating the multiverse thing would most likely happen because you have to remember, if you watch the movie, there was a big CF from the jump. First, he had to go back in time. I mean, he'd have to watch himself get his ass kicked by himself, and then pulling a fast one, to saying Bucky is alive. So that's how he got the jump on himself. And then you have to remember that Loki got the Tesseract. So that's one gone. And they still got the little jewel thing, but I don't really grasp on how the hell that worked because I swore the jewel was inside the Tesseract. But I'm confused on that, and we're just going to let that slide. Now he has to go back. He has to go talk to the Ancient One, who just knocked Banner out of Hawk's body, who, after 4 or 5 seconds explaining the story, she gives him the thing. Now you got Captain America going back through time to all these places that they went to get the stuff back. So he has to go to Asgard and put the mist back inside of Jane Foster, which I ain't figured out how the hell he would do that. Um, he has to go back to the planet with Peter Quill and give him the thing back in the bowl. And then he has to go put the other ones back. He has to give the other one to Vision and wherever the hell the stones that Thanos had already collected while in space. Alright, because he got one from, God damn it. He got one from Richard Rider's, the Nova Corps people. He got one from the Collector, which I believe was the one that Quill gave up. And then he had another one. And then he had to come to Earth to get the Mind Stone from Vision. And he had to come get the Akamoto. And I'm missing one from somewhere because I just said the Asgard one. So he's got to do all that. And he's got to put all that stuff back. And he has to go right back to the Ancient One at the exact point that she gives it to Banner. So if he does that, how does he not confront Banner? And how does Banner not say, what the hell are you doing here? I'm going to take the stone, and you're bringing the stone right back, which Banner just finished discussing with that. So how did him and Banner not meet again? This is why I said it's metaphysically and chronologically very, very close to impossible. Because he would have to come back at the exact point that she took it and gave it to him. So it wouldn't be exact because she took it and gave it to Banner. He'd have to come back a microsecond close to the point where Banner bails, because then it would start a whole clusterfuck of what ifs. Now, what if's going to be a great series when it comes, and I need a job, but the whole CF that begins is when he starts putting them back. When he gets to the Ancient One to put it back in her hand as she gives it to Banner, as Banner said, it would correct everything. But you can never truly put everything back exactly at the exact point of time that it left. Because you have to remember, Rocket had to get the mist out of Jane Foster to form the crystal. And after doing so, Rocket and them were running, and then they got away. But, how does he not bump into Rocket? How does he not bump into Thanos? How does he not do everything that was done? How does he not undo what he was doing? How does it all work back out to itself? There's your big CF right there, because you have to okay, I can't go in exactly when I put the damn crystal in. It's almost not possible for him to pop up and put the places back in time in the exact same time in which they left. Now the concept is solid. The concept is very solid. But the actual fragmentation of that actually happening is slim to zero, because he has to worry about time, time itself. So unless he comes in and pops it in without being seen, he's coming in Ant-Man mode. He's coming in. It's like, okay, look, you're gonna give him that, and I'm gonna give you this, and it's gonna just like happen like that. And I don't really see that working in anyone's favor. So in creating the multiverse, it will still happen. And I'm gonna tell y'all, to be honest, I'm so far behind in comics, I don't even remember the Eye of Akamoto being an Infinity Stone to begin with. So I'm gonna have to go and do some research on that, because I remember Infinity Watch, and I remember Infinity Gauntlet, and then I remember Infinity War, and with all that time span of the 3 years or whatever, I don't remember Thanos saying anything about the Eye of Akamoto being an Infinity Stone. So I'm gonna have to go back and do research. But for the purpose of this video, and because I promised you 3, the whole concept of Cap putting everything back at the time that it took out, I'm going to say that's a big fat negative. Because he'd still have to confront 2 Captain Americas. He'd have to confront Banner taking the thing from him, and then explaining that this was all part of Banner's plan to put everything back exactly. He'd have to run into Rocket and Thor, who are running after getting the essence of the red jewel out of Jane Foster. And then you have to worry about Vision. You have to worry about Star-Lord. I'm still missing a stone from somewhere, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Now we're going to close out with that same concept of Vance Astro Marvel Boy meeting Vance Astro Major Victory. See, Major Victory, as I said, went to tell Marvel Boy basically about his future and what could possibly happen if he did this instead of doing that, which didn't change anything because Vance Astro was from the 616 and not the 691, which that Vance Astro was. So the problem with Vance Astro in a lot of his comics was, my name is Vance Astro, can somebody tell me where, when, or what time is it? What timeline am I in? What universe am I in? Vance has been through some stuff, which makes him a very good character. And if you really like the Guardians of the Galaxy, not just the ones that you know now with Star-Lord, Drax, Gamora, Groot, Mantis, and Rocket, and now Thor, if you're not just a fan of them, but a fan of the original 13 plus, there's more than 13 of them. It started off with 4, but by like 1985, there were like 13 of them. There were just as many Guardians of the Galaxy as there were X-Men, if not more, because in the 80s, the X-Men, before X-Factor came back in, the X-Men were pretty much the following members, and I'm going to end this video. There was Havoc. Cyclops had came and left because he had got married and went back with his wife, and then he left her. So we're going to knock Cyclops off, and we're just going to go with the ones that were important through the fall of the mutants and stuff before the crossovers. So we have Colossus, Wolverine, Havoc, Storm, Polaris, Psylocke, Longshot, Dazzler. I'm not sure if I said Wolverine, so we're going to leave him there. I'm missing some damn body, but I don't know who it is. Anyway, eventually Jubilee and Nightcrawler. Not Jubilee, she came in later. But you would have Nightcrawler and Kitty Pryde. So they're like 10 X-Men, give or take, that I named them all correctly. And within that, Madeline Pryor, because she was there after she was like left for dead by the Marauders who kidnapped Cyclops' son for Mr. Sinister, who would later grow up to be known as Cable, but before that his name was Christopher Charles Xavier Dayspring Summers, something in that manner. Initially he was just Christopher, named after Corsair, Charles Xavier Summers. which is named after Professor Charles Xavier because he was more like a father to him than Christopher Corsair was to, his name was Christopher Summers, but Corsair was what his job was, so he became a Corsair to use that as his code name. Anyway, so Corsair, who is Scott's father and Cable's grandfather, they never got to be father and son because Corsair threw Scott and Havoc out of the damn vehicle and would go off to have another son who would be named Gabriel somewhere in space, who's also an Omega level mutant. Now, as far as that, they didn't know. And then Adam X, who was a genetic product of rape. I hate to say it that way, but that's the only way you can explain how him and the Summer brothers are brothers, unless they retcon all that crap. But he was the son of Scott's mom, but not Corsair. And he was a mutant, which goes back to the kind of fight against that mutant gene being just a father thing. Anyway, before retconning and before the X-Men movies where they made that a father thing. But for the comic books, mutants were genetic to both parents. Now, as I end, the reason why I brought the X-Men into that was because of the simple fact that if they bring mutants into the MCU, they gotta have some kind of excuse, just to make it relevant. It's the same thing like if they bring Fantastic Four in them and all that. They'll figure it all out, especially with the more current news of what's been going on with Marvel and Spider-Man. So we're gonna close it with this. If Vance Astro can go and meet himself and can't change his fate, there's a high probability that Cap met one of the Caps, explained the whole damn thing, and it played out exactly the way that Cap said it would play out to Cap. Alright, plus, there was probably always a multiverse, and no one ever knew it, but moving the Infinity Stones out of time is probably what opened up the dimensional gateway to the multiverses. Now, the reason why I say that, it's probably an ultraverse and a multiverse, and the reason I say that is because of the Sliders theory. If you're a fan of the Sliders TV show and their cop-out ass ending, you knew it was coming. The first episode of Sliders, it starts off with a guy who has the device who can open a portal to many different worlds. And he said, what if you had the portal or the device to open a portal to many different worlds where you are the same person, but everything else is different. Your life is different. In one world you're a superstar, in one world you're a bum, in one world you're a chick, in one world you're rich, in one world you're poor, etc., etc. So, loosely based on the Sliders theory, the multiverse and the ultraverse, etc., probably already exist, and Marvel just got a tag on it, and DC has done the same thing. And so, with the new 52s and rebirths and all that, they all kind of just decided to go in like a ton of different directions, and that's kind of how you got to this. So when they made the Avengers movie and they brought in the Infinity Stones and put all these twists and turns in it, you can understand how this plays out in a multifaceted way because of the simple fact that to bring in more characters, you can bring them in from different dimensions, and they can travel from Earth to Earth to Earth, or dimension to dimension. I did a video about alternate timelines and alternate Earths once or twice. It hasn't had any views, but anyway, if you check that out, I kind of go into a more deep depth. And because I have a history of the Marvel Universe book, I'm going to do a video on that after I read the damn thing. I'm James Williams. This is Comfort Number 2. Like and share. Be seeing you.